What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original programming that I watch on the WWE Network, as well as on the E! Network, as today we're talking Season 3, Episode 3 of Total Bellas. Definitely one of the most real episodes yet. We talked all about it in my Season 3, Episode 2 review last week, with what to expect when you're not expecting, which featured essentially the official breakup of Nikki Bella and John Cena. Now, it was reported just a few days ago, I think by WWE.com themselves and by TMZ and all the gossip websites, that Nikki and John were reportedly back together. And in this episode, based off what we saw at the end of last week's episode, it was depicted that they broke up at the end of January, right before Raw 25. Now, the rumors didn't come out that they broke up in the news until right after WrestleMania. So this has been going on, or apparently had been going on for 3 months. They broke up officially in April, May, whatever. The rumors were that they broke up weeks before their wedding. Their wedding was on May 5th. Was supposed to be on May 5th. But according to the show, they broke up in January. So that's inaccurate. But the whole thing is a weird timeline right now. But I do want to update you guys that are following along with the odd John and Nikki saga right now, kind of the dramatic saga with John and Nikki Bella, apparently they're back together in real time as of June 2018, so follow along on that front for more news and with that. But with this episode, though, with What Comes Up Must Go Down was the name of the episode, we pick up right where we left off from last week with Nikki and John. I think they're in Napa Valley, and John and Nikki go upstairs. They sit down, they discuss what's going on. Nikki flat out says, I want to be a mother, I want kids. John says, I'm not going to change your mind. And Nikki says, should we call off the wedding? And John says, I'm not sure if we should go through with this. We should call it off. He said it's a choice that he made, having, not wanting to have kids, and that he has to deal with it. And he repeats himself. He's not sure if they should go through with it. And he says it shouldn't be a situation where she's pushing these feelings to the side. And Nikki says, I was fine when I was going through the therapy, where I was being told, I told myself I would never have kids, and I was okay with it. But as I talked about at the end of last week's episode's review, that seeing Birdie and all that other stuff, and JJ and Lauren have their kid, Vivian, that kind of brought back those feelings from Nikki that she might regret it later on down the road if she doesn't have a kid with John Cena. So, that being said, she might be having all these feelings of regret and overwhelmment and stress and all this whatever. So they decide to call off the wedding and just break up altogether, apparently. And like I said, John says, it shouldn't be a situation where you're putting those feelings over to the side, that you're forcing yourself to not feel a certain way. And I completely agree. But Nikki says, I can't imagine life without you. But calling it off is the only way. Otherwise, we can't go through with this. We can't live this fake life where I'm not excited, I'm not happy, and I'm not getting what I want. And they say, we're going to make the family aware. They're going to let, their family know and whatever, not make the breakup public just yet, but they will make, Brie aware, Mama Bella aware, John's family aware, because they're the ones that are planning for the wedding currently, and are kind of, setting everything up, and they should be the first ones to know. And Nikki says, where do we kind of go from here? And what should we do about the wedding and canceling stuff and all this other stuff and her Nikki moving out and whatever? And John says basically that they'll figure it out. And Nikki says in the aftermath of that event that sometimes you have to experience life without certain people and know that you'll heal in time. I think a feeling that many people can relate to. So we skip to our next scene that with Nikki, she invites her mom on over. And Mama Bella, I think, sees John Cena on her way over because she starts crying and they both say that they love each other. And Mama Bella says, that she looks at John as basically her second son, and that she loves him a lot and whatever. So it's very hard to see Nikki in this state where she's not with John anymore, at least officially. So they both cry and they both talk it over. Nikki feels really, really bad, more so for John than anyone else, just because she feels that she turned his life upside down, and that he was really, really happy leading up to the wedding, where he was talking all about it, and, he was talking all about Nikki, and that he was super psyched for the wedding, and now he's super heartbroken. But she says, I couldn't sacrifice anymore. I know this entire relationship has been about making sacrifices, but I just can't make that sacrifice anymore, where I can't have this feeling of where I don't want to have kids. But Mama Bella said that she's proud of Nikki, and then Nikki texts Brie about it while they're in the car leaving, I think, Napa Valley. Before they meet up in person, Brie gets really upset. Nikki talks about her first morning away from John for the first time in like 6 years where they're not talking at all. Apparently they were still texting even the night before, even after they broke up, but they weren't texting the next morning, and they've been a few days without talking to each other, which is completely out of the ordinary for both John and Nikki. So anyway, at this point, Nikki has been talking to John on and off. Like I said, Brie starts crying, and she feels really, really bad for John as well because he was super happy, and now he's heartbroken over the whole thing. And they're in the process of talking over canceling stuff. What are we going to do about this party, the bachelorette party? Blah, 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 blah. So Brie says that she'll handle a few things on that front. And Brie, at this point, kind of flies under the radar, but it is at this point where Brie talks about Bryan potentially getting cleared to compete again. Now, I guess this was on one of the Mondays or earlier on in the week before Raw 25. That was the week before the Royal Rumbles. This might have been the week before that. And she says, Bryan's flying out to like Pittsburgh or something like that later on this week to see if he's going to be cleared, because if he could pass this test, then WWE will give him the green light to come back to the ring. So it kind of flies under the radar in this episode, but that's another side story to pay attention to in Season 3 of Total Bellas with Daniel Bryan stepping back in the ring for the first time in like 3 years, because he retired back in 2016. And now we know, of course, as of real time, Daniel Bryan is back in the squared circle, but it is going to be interesting to follow that storyline in the months ahead, in the episodes ahead, to see Daniel Bryan's journey in getting back into the ring. So anyway, Brie goes to get her hair done before Raw 25 and her Royal Rumble match return, just to look like the Brie Bella of old. She doesn't know how she'll be received if she doesn't look like Brie Mode instead of Brie Mom. So she doesn't know if she'll be perceived as Brie Mode instead of Brie Mom, so that's why she went to go get her hair done to look like the Brie Bella of old. And JJ and Lauren come to visit, and it's tough for her because she can't tell them. Nikki told Brie to not tell them about the breakup just yet, so it's kind of awkward at that point. They bring champagne, they have a good time. At that point, they go house shopping in San Diego. I'm not sure for what other reason than Nikki just wants to. They were talking it over with Nikki, like, what's the next step? And Nikki said, I gotta move out. Probably. So Brie brings up the idea of Nikki potentially staying with them. So she goes house shopping, and I'm not sure if she was going to do it anyway, or had that thought in mind that Nikki might be living with me for the next year, or at least the foreseeable future. So we got to find a bigger house for Bryan, Brie, Birdie, and Nikki. And that's why they go house shopping in San Diego. And that's why they're moving closer, I guess, to where Nikki currently lives in San Diego. So anyway, Brie does tell JJ and Lauren about the breakup, so they're aware of it. So they bring everyone out to dinner to kind of lighten the mood. They discuss Raw 25 and getting back in the ring, how they're holding up, their gear, and all this other stuff. Brie feels like Nikki's putting on a brave face, even though she's really, really hurting deep down. And Nikki talks about, this whole women's empowerment moving going on right now. I feel like I got labeled as John Cena's fiance, and I'm not the fearless Nikki that I once was. I'm not fearless Nicole. I can be fearless Nikki on TV, but I'm not in real life. It was kind of a weird explanation. She's all of a sudden being like, I wasn't fulfilled, I wasn't happy at the end with John. Which is kind of true. You could tell that she was stressed out. But she said, I was distant from him because it kind of felt like I was labeled off as John Cena's fiance. It's like, dude, you want to get married for this guy for so long. You got to know this is the end result. And I'm sure this is kind of like feelings that are from deep down. That they're not obviously the primary reasons as to why she broke up with John Cena, but she makes it sound like, I didn't want to be labeled as Mrs. John Cena, even though that's really all that she's ever wanted. And she felt like she kind of lost herself in recent months in with John, and that's why they broke up, because she wanted to be herself again. So I don't know if I really buy that. I felt like there was more of an excuse, and it was more like what she said to John initially, that, John doesn't want kids, she wants kids, so they called off the wedding. I feel like it was more along the lines of what she originally said than the stuff that she spewed here, which may not be too far off, but I thought it was kind of, I thought it was just a weird thing for her to say, because I don't think that's the reason why they broke up at all, because the wedding is what she wanted all along, isn't it? So anyway, Brie shows off the new place to Bryan and Birdie. Bryan likes it. It's a 1-year lease. And she brings up the idea of Nikki staying with them. Bryan's okay with it. He asks about the price range. She says it's within their price range, so it looks like they're moving in. So at that point, they move on over to Nikki having a Birdie B photo shoot. She says, even in the biggest times of crisis, whatever it might be, especially during a breakup. It's never cool to kind of cancel stuff you've already scheduled, unless it's a wedding, of course, in this case. But she's already scheduled the photo shoot. It's going to help get her mind off things, so she does the photo shoot. And she says it kind of feels like, in her words, a mind fuck, because people are asking her about, John Cena and the wedding, how everything's going, how is Napa Valley, blah, 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 blah. And she has to put on this kind of facade, this fake appearance with her, talking about John and how they're so happy together in the wedding and they're excited for it, even though in reality at this point they're not together at all. They've just broken up. So it's weird for her. And she's kind of thinking in her mind, oh, did I make the right choice? Blah, blah, blah. You have all these kind of mini regrets in your head kind of going on as people are asking you about the relationship. Did I make the right decision? All this other kind of stuff. So it's a really weird spot to be in just because they haven't gone public with the breakup of their relationship yet. So anyway, Brie asks her, did you tell, because Brie ends up joining her for the photo shoot. She asks her, did you end up telling them about the breakup? And she has to say, no, I can't right now because I feel like I really just don't want to deal with that on top of everything else at the moment. So, no, I didn't tell them. So anyway, Brie shows off her new gear. It's going to be hiding her stomach, she says. It still has that see-through, like her pants, they felt like they were scratched and they have the little openings. Her stomach has that same design to it just because, she wants to be the Nikki of old. She wants to be the Brie Bella that people... Did I say the Nikki Bella? I meant Brie Bella. I apologize. The Brie Bella of old that people remembered her as, not like Brie Mom instead of Brie Mode like I talked about earlier. So she wants to hide her stomach because it's not the same stomach that she had before she retired 3 years ago. They're not really sure what to expect at Raw 25, especially with John Cena being there. Will he ignore her? Will he go out of his way to talk to her? Will she ignore him? Will she go out of her way to talk to him? It's a weird, again, coming off a breakup. You don't really know what point you're at with these people. Do you talk to each other? Do you not talk to each other? Again, it's kind of a weird deal. And then on top of everything else, she's kind of living this fake life at this point where she has to put on this facade, pretending that she's still with John Cena, when in reality that she's not. So she has to go up to Natalya and Vince McMahon and say, oh, everything's great with John and I, the wedding's coming up, blah, blah, blah. In reality, they're not together anymore. So it's weird, and other people think they are. So it's very tough, a tough spot to be in at that point. But they do meet up, and Nikki feels like she's living a fake life. I forgot to mention that. She does outright say that. But they do meet up backstage at Raw 25. And they basically say, I miss you 100 times to each other. And they love each other and all this other stuff. Nikki is a bit disappointed that John didn't text her, I guess, the day before, at any point the day prior. And he also said, it takes every fiber of my being to not text you just because I miss you so much. But it's the way it's got to be right now. And he doesn't really know how she feels and vice versa. Feelings mutual. So again, it's that weird post-breakup thing going on with John and Nikki. So they do, there's no tension, but in seeing them in the hallway together, you would think they're still together and they're just talking about something serious, not knowing that they're not together anymore. But they do promise to, work things out and talk about what's been going on at some point in the very near future. And they go their separate ways, and that's about it. He does say, again, I miss you 100 times. And then he says, it's kind of hard to not text you. But, and it's just the way that it's got to be at this point. And they go their separate ways. Brie and Nikki make their triumphant return to WWE TV as the Bella Twins for the first time in a few years on Raw 25. And, it's tough. She's got to put on this fake smile when deep down she's killing on the inside. And we'll find more about that. We'll find out more about that in the episodes to come in my review of Season 3, Episode 4, coming up next week, in the episodes thereafter as well, as we kind of dive deeper into the breakup of John Cena and Nikki Bella, and also the in-ring return of Brie Bella in the Royal Rumble match, which I think the next episode focuses in on, which is awesome, and also the in-ring return of Daniel Bryan. So it's going to be an exciting season, I feel like, of Total Bella. So far, so good. This season so far has been very real, has hit home, and it's been some riveting television. I don't mean that sarcastic either. It's been a very compelling season of Total Bella so far. So looking forward to following what the remainder of the season has in store in the weeks ahead. In the meantime, though, guys, be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Thank you guys for checking the show as always. We will be back on Friday with my review of whatever's going up on the WWE Network tonight. I think it's a photo shoot with The Godfather, an edition of WWE photo shoot with him. So that'll be interesting. I'll be talking about that on Network and Chill this Friday. And next Monday, my review, Season 3, Episode 4. Hopefully up a little earlier than this one just because I was busy late last night when it originally aired, and I was also busy this morning too, so I couldn't watch it until like an hour ago. But hopefully that episode will be up, my review of it anyway, will be up a lot sooner than this one was. So anyway, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.